In recent weeks, many families in Ouagadougou have been asking the same uneasy question. Why does it feel so hard to find cooking gas? While the authorities insist that the country is not running out of it, men and women walk through their neighborhoods carrying empty cylinders, checking one shop after another. Social media posts spread quickly, warning that gas is finished, that stocks are gone, that people must hurry before it is too late. Fear travels faster than facts. This is how a crisis often begins. Not with a real national shortage, but with confusion, rumors, and a loss of trust. When people see long lines or closed shops, they do not ask where the gas comes from. They assume it no longer exists. In that moment, a local difficulty turns into a national panic. Families start buying more than they need. Neighbors advise neighbors to store cylinders at home. Within days, demand explodes. Shelves empty faster, and the feeling of scarcity becomes real, even if the supply itself has not collapsed. The government of Burkina Faso has firmly rejected the idea of a national gas shortage. According to official sources, gas continues to leave national depots every day. The production lines remain active. Trucks are loaded and dispatched. From a technical and national perspective, the gas is there. This creates a disturbing paradox. How can a country that is still producing and distributing gas appear to be running out of it in the streets of its capital? The answer lies in the space between supply and the citizen. That space is where rumors grow, where illegal storage hides behind walls, and where speculation feeds on fear. Fake news does not need to invent facts. It only needs to amplify anxiety. Once people believe that gas is disappearing, behavior changes. Hoarding replaces moderation. Opportunism replaces fairness. And the market begins to break down under pressure that it helped create itself. Understanding this mechanism is essential. Because the real danger is not only the price of gas or the difficulty of finding it, the deeper risk is social instability driven by misinformation. When citizens stop believing official data and start trusting rumors, order weakens. This is why the question of gas is not only an economic issue, it is a test of governance, trust, and the capacity of the state to protect daily life. To understand why the idea of a gas shortage spread so quickly, we must look at how fear moves through a community. Gas butane is not a luxury product. It is used every day, in almost every household. When access to such a product becomes uncertain, people do not wait calmly for explanations. They react. The first spark is usually small. A few shops run out of gas for a day or two. A delivery arrives late. Someone posts a message online saying they searched all morning and found nothing. This message is shared, commented on, and exaggerated. Soon, the story changes from "some shops are empty" to "there is no gas anywhere." At this stage, facts no longer matter. Perception takes control. Once this belief spreads, behavior shifts rapidly. Families who normally buy one cylinder begin to buy 2 or 3 if they find them. People keep gas at home not for immediate use, but for protection against an uncertain future. This is what economists call panic buying. But in everyday life it feels like common-sense survival. Unfortunately, when thousands of households act this way at the same time, the result is predictable. Supplies at local points disappear faster than they can be replenished. This dynamic creates a dangerous illusion. The absence of gas on the street is interpreted as proof that the rumors were true. In reality, the market is being drained by fear itself. Opportunistic actors understand this very well. They hide stocks, slow down sales, and wait. As pressure increases, prices rise. What began as a rumor becomes a profitable strategy for those willing to exploit the situation. If the state remains silent during this phase, the damage multiplies. Trust in institutions weakens. Citizens begin to believe that authorities are either lying or powerless. Social frustration grows, especially among older people and low-income families who cannot afford to chase supplies or pay inflated prices. In extreme cases, such situations can trigger protests, unrest, or broader political instability. This is why fake news about essential goods is never harmless. It does not need to be organized by hostile forces to cause harm. Simple repetition is enough. When fear replaces information, markets stop functioning normally. Correcting this process requires more than statements. It requires visible action that restores confidence and breaks the cycle of panic, speculation, and artificial scarcity. While the streets of Ouagadougou were filled with frustration and uncertainty, the national supply system continued to operate. This is a crucial point that often gets lost in public debate. Burkina Faso's gas supply does not begin at neighborhood shops. It begins at national depots, under the responsibility of the Société Nationale Burkinabé de Hydrocarbures, commonly known as SONABHI. SONABHI plays a central role in the country's energy security. Its mission is to import, store, and distribute petroleum products, including butane gas, to licensed marketers. According to official data, the main depot at Bingo has remained fully operational. Gas has continued to be filled, loaded, and dispatched every day. Production lines have not stopped. In fact, capacity has been increased to respond to seasonal demand, especially during cooler months when gas consumption naturally rises. This reality forces an important distinction. A shortage at the national level means that the country lacks gas to distribute. A shortage at the local level means that gas exists, but does not reach consumers efficiently. These two situations are often confused, but they require very different responses. In the first case, the solution lies in imports, production, or infrastructure. In the second, the problem is distribution, control, and market behavior. SONABHI has repeatedly stated that it does not control what happens once gas leaves its depots. Licensed marketers act as intermediaries between national supply and local markets. If gas disappears along that path, the cause is not production failure, but disruption within the distribution chain. This includes delays, hoarding, diversion to unauthorized uses, or resale through illegal channels. Understanding this distinction matters for public trust. When people hear the word shortage, they imagine empty tanks and stopped production. In reality, trucks may still be leaving depots while citizens see empty shelves. This gap creates suspicion and anger, especially among older citizens who remember past crises where shortages were real and prolonged. By insisting on the national level perspective, authorities aim to correct this misunderstanding. They are not denying the daily difficulties faced by families. They are stating that the foundation of supply remains intact. The challenge is therefore not to create gas, but to protect its fair circulation. Once this point is clear, the focus shifts naturally from panic to accountability. The question becomes not why is there no gas, but where did the gas go? Once it became clear that gas was still available at the national level, attention naturally shifted to what was happening inside neighborhoods and local markets. This is where the real distortion occurred. The gas did not disappear by accident. In many cases, it was deliberately held back. A common pattern emerged. Some vendors and intermediaries continued to receive gas, but instead of selling it openly, they stored it in hidden spaces. Cylinders were placed behind walls, in inner courtyards, small warehouses, or locked rooms not visible from the street. To the public, the shop appeared empty. To those inside the network, the gas was very much present. This practice transformed ordinary distribution points into illegal storage centers. Transportation also played a role. gas cylinders were moved using vehicles that did not meet safety or regulatory standards. These informal methods made tracking difficult and allowed products to circulate outside official channels. In effect, a parallel market developed alongside the legal one. This market operated quietly, without price labels, without transparency, and without concern for safety rules. The logic behind this behavior was simple. By creating artificial scarcity, sellers could wait. As fear increased and desperation grew, prices could be raised. A cylinder that should have been sold at a regulated price suddenly became a bargaining tool. The longer people searched without success, the more they were willing to pay. What looked like a shortage was, in reality, a strategy. This type of speculation produces what can be called a false crisis. The shortage is not caused by lack of supply, but by deliberate obstruction, yet the consequences are entirely real. Families struggle to cook. Elderly people are forced to walk long distances searching for gas. Tensions rise between neighbors. Trust in markets collapses. Even more dangerous is the safety risk. Gas stored in unsuitable locations, close to homes and shops, creates the constant threat of fire or explosion. A practice driven by profit ends up endangering entire communities. This is why authorities describe the situation as unacceptable. It is not merely unfair, it is harmful. When essential goods are captured by illegal networks, the damage extends beyond prices. It affects dignity, security, and social peace. Understanding this mechanism explains why the state chose not to negotiate or wait, but to intervene directly. When markets are deliberately broken from within, restoring order requires firm action. To understand why the government reacted so firmly, it is necessary to look at the nature of butane gas subsidies in Burkina Faso. Gas for household use is not priced freely by the market. It is subsidized by the state so that ordinary families, especially low-income households and older citizens, can afford to cook safely and regularly. This subsidy represents public money. It is a collective effort to reduce daily hardship. Because of this policy, gas cylinders intended for households are sold at prices below their real market cost. This difference is covered by the national budget. When the system functions properly, the benefit goes directly to families. When it is abused, the loss is also collective. Each diverted cylinder means fewer resources for those who truly need them. In recent months, investigations revealed that some actors were deliberately redirecting subsidized gas away from its intended purpose. Cylinders meant for family kitchens were sold to restaurants, hotels, transport operators, or small production units. These users consume large quantities and are capable of paying higher prices. By reselling subsidized gas to them, speculators captured the subsidy as private profit. The social impact of this practice is severe. Households face empty shelves and rising prices, while seeing gas used openly in commercial activities. Older people are particularly affected. Many rely on fixed incomes and cannot compete in a market distorted by speculation. Walking long distances to search for gas becomes a physical burden. Paying inflated prices becomes a financial strain. What was designed as social protection turns into exclusion. There is also a moral dimension. Subsidies are built on trust. The state trusts distributors to respect the rules. Citizens trust that public resources will be used fairly. When this trust is broken, frustration grows and social cohesion weakens. People begin to question not only the market, but the fairness of the entire system. This is why authorities framed the issue as more than an economic offense. Diverting subsidized gas is treated as an attack on social solidarity. It is not simply a matter of selling without authorization. It is the misuse of collective support for individual gain. By cracking down on these practices, The government aimed to restore the original purpose of the subsidy. The goal was to ensure that public money once again served public needs, and that households, especially the most vulnerable, were protected from exploitation. Faced with a situation driven by speculation and illegal practices, the authorities chose not to rely on warnings alone. They launched direct and visible enforcement operations. Two structures played a central role in this response: the Mobile Brigade for Economic Control and Fraud Repression, known as BMCRF, and the Brigade La Abal. Their mission was clear: identify illegal practices, dismantle parallel circuits, and restore order in the distribution of butane gas. BMCRF teams were deployed across Ouagadougou to inspect sales points, storage areas, and transport activities. These were not symbolic visits. Controllers searched behind shops, inside courtyards, and in closed rooms. In several cases, they discovered hundreds of gas cylinders hidden from public view. While customers waited outside believing there was no gas, full cylinders were stored just meters away. Such findings confirmed that the shortage was being manufactured, not suffered. Brigade La Balle complemented this effort with a more operational approach. Gas seized from illegal circuits was not left idle. Instead, it was redistributed to citizens under controlled conditions. This action served two purposes. First, it immediately relieved pressure on households. Second, it sent a strong signal that speculation would not be rewarded. Gas taken from illegal storage returned to its rightful destination, family kitchens. Sanctions were an essential part of the strategy. Individuals caught diverting or storing subsidized gas illegally faced penalties that went beyond fines. In some cases, they were required to perform community service. This form of punishment carried symbolic weight. It reminded offenders that their actions harmed the entire population and that repair was owed to society. The message from the state was deliberate and unambiguous. Essential goods cannot be treated like speculative assets. Gas is not a luxury item reserved for those who can manipulate the market. It is a basic necessity protected by law, by acting publicly and decisively. The government aimed to restore confidence. Citizens were meant to see that the rules were enforced and that no actor was above them. This approach also served a preventive function. Visibility discourages repetition. When illegal practices are exposed and punished, others think twice before engaging in similar behavior. The objective was not only to correct the current disruption, but to prevent future ones. In this sense, the crackdown was not an act of repression, but an act of protection. It reaffirmed the state's role as guardian of fairness, safety, and social stability. Beyond enforcement, the response to the gas crisis also relied on transparency. This is where digital tools and political vision converged. One of the most significant elements of this strategy was the use of FASO Arzeka, the National Digital Payment Platform. Through this system, gas seized from illegal circuits could be sold directly to citizens, with payments transferred straight to the public treasury. This eliminated intermediaries and reduced opportunities for corruption. The importance of this approach goes beyond technology. Transparency changes behavior. When citizens know that payments are traceable and that money flows directly to the state, trust begins to return. When speculators realize that they can no longer hide transactions or manipulate cash flows, incentives shift. The market becomes harder to distort. In this sense, digital transparency acts as a silent regulator. This logic reflects the governing philosophy of President Ibrahim Traore. While he does not manage daily operations, his influence is visible in the priorities set for state action. Under his leadership, essential goods are treated as matters of national stability, not purely commercial products. The state is expected to intervene when markets fail, especially when failure is caused by deliberate abuse. Traore's approach emphasizes sovereignty and responsibility. Sovereignty means that the state does not surrender control of vital resources to informal networks or speculative interests. Responsibility means that public policies, such as subsidies, must serve their intended social purpose. When these principles are violated, correction is not optional. It is necessary. The gas operations illustrate this vision in practice. Enforcement addressed the immediate problem. Transparency addressed the structural one. Together, they formed a coherent response. Citizens were not only told that gas existed, they were shown how it was redistributed and how payments were handled. This visibility mattered, especially for older citizens who value order and accountability. Ultimately, the objective was broader than stabilizing prices. It was about reaffirming the link between the state and daily life. When markets for essential goods operate fairly, social tension decreases. When rules are clear and enforced, rumors lose power. In this context, the management of the gas situation became a lesson in governance. Order in the market reinforced confidence in institutions, and confidence helped restore calm across the city. The recent gas situation in Ouagadougou offers a clear lesson. What appeared to be a national shortage was, in reality, a crisis of perception fueled by speculation, illegal storage, and misinformation. The response showed that stabilizing an essential market requires more than increasing supply. It requires restoring order, trust, and fairness at the same time. 3 pillars define the government's approach. First, facts were put back at the center of the discussion. National production and distribution continued. The gas existed. Second, illegal practices were confronted directly. Hidden stocks were exposed. Parallel markets were dismantled. Sanctions were applied to remind everyone that essential goods are protected by law. Third, transparency was strengthened. By using digital payment systems linked to the public treasury, the state reduced opportunities for abuse and reassured citizens that public resources were handled responsibly. This combination helped calm both prices and emotions. As gas returned to the market and rules were enforced, panic buying lost its purpose. Rumors weakened when confronted with visible action. Households slowly returned to normal consumption patterns. Social tension eased. The contrast with other regional experiences is instructive. In Mali, fuel shortages escalated into prolonged crises that disrupted transportation, education, and daily life. Once a shortage becomes systemic, recovery is slow and painful. Burkina Faso's decision to intervene early aimed precisely to avoid that scenario, by stopping manipulation before it hardened into structural failure. The country protected its social stability. There is a broader lesson here for other African nations. Markets for essential goods cannot be left entirely to chance or opportunism. When subsidies exist, they must be defended. When rumors spread, they must be countered with both information and action. And when public trust is at stake, transparency is not optional. Finally, responsibility does not belong to the state alone. Citizens also play a role. Refusing to hoard, rejecting illegal sellers, and reporting abuses help protect the community as a whole. Stability is built through shared discipline. The gas crisis was not just about cooking fuel, it was about governance in everyday life. By restoring order to a single market, the authorities sent a wider message. Social peace depends on fairness, clarity, and the courage to act before fear takes control.